Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the weekly comic book roundup. I'm going to get things started with New Mutants number 3. So, where we left off, Krakoa is for mutants. Also, Sunspot and a group of the original and a group of other young mutants went off into space. So we begin on Krakoa. Glob, Herman, and Armor are picking fruits and just talking about how much they really like living on Krakoa. And Armor begins to note that, or does notice that, like, a point was bringing up that not all of their friends are there. You know, and she kind of wants to go, figure out who isn't there and find them and, preferably bring them there. So, she talks to Sage about it, going through books of known mutants. And basically, Sage checks with the computer and it's like, okay, Bishop's here, Dazzler's here, and so Armor does kind of begin to skim the list of like, okay, who do I know I haven't seen? Like, oh, okay, hey, Beak. And so there's no sign of Beak or Angel Salvador and their kids. So Armor decides to go find out where Beak and Angel are. First, she gets some assistance from Glob Herman, and they go to, as a parent, they go to ask Sunspot a question. However, Sunspot isn't home. They do find Boom Boom, however, at Sunspot's place, digging through his stuff. She's a little perturbed that no one, asked her if she wanted to join them in space, but, whatever. There's also a breakdown of the Academos habitat, also known as the Sextant. The Academos habitat is a collection of biomes that serves as the home to younger generations of mutants. It also serves as an education center and training facility where the young mutants exchange ideas and learn from one another, forgoing formal classroom studies and student-teacher relationships. All are students, all are teachers. You got Delta House, which is dedicated to Generation X. Zeta House, which is dedicated to the new X-Men. Beta House, which is dedicated to the Frost Academy. The Pod, which is home of the Five. Life Death, which is a communal area. Sigma House, which is home to the students of the Jean Grey School. Omega House, the occupants are redacted. And then you finally Alpha House, which is home of the New Mutants. Kind of wondering. So, Armor and Glob head out into the world to go and find Beak. And Manon and Maxime offer to go with them. And admittedly, their offer is basically, hey, if your friends don't want to come, we can manipulate their memories and their feelings and make them want to come. And Armor's like, yeah, how you can come, but don't do that, okay? That would be bad. So they show up at Beak's house, and it turns out that the reason that Beak and Angel haven't gone to Krakoa is that Beak's father has Taylor Ellis disease. Well, it turns out that is in fact the reason why Armor went to go see Sunspot, who, as I mentioned, wasn't home, to get the cure that Krakoa would be creating for Taylor Ellis, which she then gives to Beak's father, and he starts to snap out of it. There's also a rep on Taylor Ellis, or his proper name, Morticium Dementia, MMD. The basics are that people with MMD have trouble remembering how to carry out everyday tasks. Early signs include loss of ability to operate a phone or computer. In advanced cases, they will no longer recall how to walk and lack the ability to relearn forgotten tasks. It's estimated there are 10,000 people with MMD worldwide. 90% of those diagnosed with MMD will die within 6 months. The mortality rate within a year of diagnosis is 100%. It is most commonly diagnosed in patients between the ages of 50 and 67. So anyways, Angel and Beak's kids got out when Armor, Glob, Manon, and Maxim arrived. And well, now there's a group of toughs outside holding them all hostage. And they want to talk to the mutants. So Armor decides to start the conversation in a aggressive manner and gets hit with a power dampening missile. And once that happens, Maxime notes this is probably why the X-Men send Wolverine first. And that is where the issue ends. Neat little side story. I wish Boom Boom had been in it more, but I'm guessing she's going to show up to save the day in the next issue. Moving on to X-Force number 3. Now, where we left off here, Kid Omega and Wolverine had discovered just how it was that the assassins arrived on Krakoa. They had grafted on, they had skin grafts procured from Domino attached to their body. They're attached to their bodies. So we start off seeing the leader of the anti-mutant group talking to... It cuts back and forth between Domino's reaction and him. A speech he gives saying, "We, as humans, recognize our limitations and then invent remedies. Telescopes and microscopes compensate for the weakness of eyes. Hammers and saws defy the softness of hands. Boots and skis allow feet to explore rocks and snow and water. Drugs shield and purify the body. And you, dear Domino, you're a walking skeleton key that will help us pick the lock of evolution." So, Kid Omega and Wolverine free Domino, but they're not out of the woods yet. Back on Krakoa, Jean and Beast work on trying to make sure that Xavier's reborn. He is. While Wolverine, Domino, and Kid Omega are escaping, Domino notes to Logan that she's wearing a power inhibitor. So there's also an inhibitor that's affecting Kid Omega's psychic powers. So Wolverine cuts the inhibitor off of Domino, and well, their luck changes. The one remaining assassin, however, is killed by an unseen force. And it's then reported that the bodies of all 5 assassins exploded, and it looks like the brain and spinal cord of each body are the source of each explosion. And so Magneto decides he's going to go and address the world about what's happened to Charles, as rumors are beginning to run rampant. As he's doing so, Charles steps out of the portal. And it turns out that afterwards, as Magneto reforged the broken Cerebro helmet into a sword, Magneto then gave the sword to Charles, which he now hangs above his bed. Then the facility that Domino is being held in explodes. And then later, at the point, Xavier and Magneto meet with Wolverine, Domino, Kid Omega, Beast, Jean Grey, and Sage. And X-Force is then sanctioned. Meanwhile, however, the group that attacked the island, they're making their own plans. And they now have a name, Xeno. And they are more than happy to get into bed with groups such as Weapon X. And that is where the issue ends. Three issues and the team is finally a thing. Alright, moving on to Fallen Angels, number 3. Where we left off here, Psylocke, Cable, and X-23, while hunting Apoth, ended up in Brazil at an overclock factory. Overclock being the drug that Apoth is making. And the trio was ambushed. So we begin with the narration from Apoth. I know where God lives. God lives in the moment of a gunshot ends a life. God lives in the first breath of a child being born. Both moments equal, neither good nor evil. God cannot consider morality. God is purpose itself. I am Apoth. I am God. God made by man, to make men as God. And I am so lonely. So lonely. Perhaps that is why I keep leading her to me. Psylocke, you are the mother of God. Soon I will tell you how you created me. Soon you will serve your child. Soon. And so, Cable attacks the mech that had ambushed them and gets swatted out of the way. Psylocke and X-23 work together to stop the mech, and they manage to do so, finding it as being controlled by a child. Psylocke connects to the child's mind and finds out what they've seen. Meanwhile, a henchman of Apoth has taken Cable prisoner. X-23 how it finds Cable's gun, but not Cable. So, and initially X-23 and Solid disagree over who they should save first, Cable or the children. But they decide that they will save the children, after all. Cable is then awoken by his captor, who is bristling with pointy bits, and looks something like an avatar of death. That's the best way I can think to describe him. That is where the issue ends. Alright, moving on to The Batman's Grave, number 3. Where we left off, Commissioner Gordon had suggested that Batman look into a certain case. Going over everything. Bruce Bruce decides he should visit the scene. While there, he's attacked by a thief. The two duke it out, and turns out the thief is stealing the LexCorp smart home devices within the mansion. However, Batman does manage to get one of them off the guy, or one of them out of the home, and escape. And LexCorp's home voice assistant is called Lexicon. Also, they're looking at the blood work or the toxicology report. Apparently, the victim here was on a lot of things. Only Warren Ellis would write Alfred in a manner that has him say, "I'm habitually ripped to the gills on very fine cocaine, sir." But they're also looking into the victim's financial history and as well as what was being said by the lexicon. So, what the lexicon was saying to him, as it was apparently, as it was hacked, was, "Do what's right, be right with the world, and good right hand." Now, it is noted that the reason that Gordon passed this along to Batman is that while it presented as a suicide, it's a left-handed man shooting himself in the head with his right hand. So that seemed a little suspect. So apparently the lexicon was convincing the victim to use his right hand, his good right hand, to kill himself. But he had also just briefly stopped seeing a therapist. So Batman decides it's time to go talk to the therapist. And that is where the issue ends. As I am loving this. The focus on Batman's detective skills rather than his fighting skills. It's quite nice. Alrighty, next up we've got Tales from the Dark Multiverse, the Judas Contract. So, for those unaware, the Judas Contract is one of the most prolific Teen Titans stories. Hallmark of the a watershed moment of sorts in the Wolfman Perez era of the team, of the title in general. In the story, the Teen Titans are captured by Hive, who had been employing Deathstroke to bring them down. And he succeeded by infiltrating the team with Terra. And in the end, Terra ended up being buried under a mountain. Titans got free. Day is saved. And we also met Dick Grayson became Nightwing, and Deathstroke's son Jericho joined the Teen Titans. So we begin, as the rest of these do, with Tempest Fugonaut talking about the multiverse and how the point of divergence is not a tragic point, but rather a moment of empathy. So we begin with the Titans fighting as one. Afterwards, they return to Titan's Tower. Kid Flash, Wally West, announces that he's at least taking a break from the team. And then Dick Grayson, Robin, announces that he is no longer going to be Robin, and he's also taking some time off. But as he's talking, he notices a glimmer of something in Terra. He'd always found Terra hard to read, but he thought he caught a glimpse of understanding in her eyes. So, before he leaves, he goes to talk to Terra, presuming that she feels that she's in the shadow of her brother, Geoforce. And so she goes to while talking with Deathstroke, is her usual disrespectful self, and when he pops her one, she decides she's had enough. Lets loose with her powers, and then uses those powers to dismember Deathstroke. Then she melts off Wintergreen's hand as he's holding a gun on her. Wintergreen being Deathstroke's longtime friend and manservant. And so she ends up taking the serum that turned Deathstroke and that made Slade. Then she returns to Titan's Tower, no longer calling herself Terra, but rather Gaia. She fights Changeling and Raven, destroys the tower. Then she sends everyone into space without the luxury of spacesuits. Then goes after Dick Grayson, who's briefly saved by Wally West, but the two are still not fast enough to stop Terra from killing them. Then Superman shows up, and he fights Terra. And then she uses her powers to destroy the city they were in. and then kills Superman with kryptonite. She then is simultaneously going after everyone else, too, causing other disasters. Washington, London, Tokyo, and we see Wonder Woman in Washington, Batman and the Outsiders in London, Green Lantern in Tokyo. Beast Boy tries to stop her, but she kills him. And then, when all's said and done, what's left is another dark world where those few who survive the cataclysm live their lives in constant fear. They know too well what happens to those who attract the attention of their crazed god, who treats this earth as her playground. And Tempest Fugit remarks that he had not considered that sometimes the tragedy that extinguished bright flames can serve to prevent much greater tragedies. Perhaps for the world to live, Tara Markov had to die. A cruel lesson, but here is the proof, for this earth belongs to Gaia now. The last image is a picture of Gaia riding a dragon made of rock over a sea of lava. That is where the issue ends. I think this is actually the last of the Tales from the Dark Multiverse. Not sure, but I think it's the last of the bunch. Next up, we've got the Dollhouse Family #2. So, where we left off, and this is one of those, it depends on which part of the story we're talking about. Alice had murdered her father, her abusive father, at the insistence of the Black Room. However, it seems that Alice's mother discovered the scene and basically planted her own fingerprints. Basically said, "Hey, look, I did it. I totally did it." So Alice is taken to a halfway house, or to a children's home. One of the girls in the and she's sadly bullied by some of the other girls, and the dollhouse has come to her. Back in 1826, Kent has been found and has had some thoughts about how life should be. He ends up marrying a nurse, claims to be barren. Back in the 80s, the bully of the children's home, just as Alice is about to get a trial placement, the bully comes along and frames her for cutting her. Since Alice is voluntarily mute, an elective mute, Alice doesn't say anything. And then finally she begins to speak. Back in the 1820s, Kent ends up marrying the nurse. We have a brief flashback, or jump back to the 80s, where Alice is told that maybe she could have a supervised visit with her mother. Back in the 1820s, it turns out that somehow Joseph Kent's nursemaid wife, who was thought to be barren, is pregnant. She says that if it's a boy, she'd like to name him for her father, Cordwainer. And so, in the 80s, Alice is getting ready to go on her supervised visit with her mother. And it turns out that another inmate has shanked Alice's mother, killing her. And so Alice says the words, ends up in the dollhouse. And we get an artist's impression of the interior of the dollhouse, including Cordwainer's workroom. Turns out, though, the Black Room wants to have a talk with Alice before she leaves. So, Alice goes to the Black Room, and turns out that the Black Room initially had plans for Alice's mother, but, well, as the Black Room puts it, some people are better at getting the message than others. And so what the Black Room suggests, hey, I could take care of Jenny, the girl that's bullying you, and then you could live here forever. But Alice wants her mother back. However, the Black Room says that while it can't bring back Jenny's mother, it could make something very like her. And then the Black Room throws Alice out of the dollhouse, saying, no one's ever made the room work so hard before. And then back in the 1820s, we see the birth. Joseph Kent's wife is giving birth, and sadly, hemorrhages in childbirth. But there's something. And so, one of the services is given the afterbirth that takes down the furnace to burn it. But as she's opening the furnace, something comes out and grabs the afterbirth from the plate that it's on. So, girl goes to look to see what it is, but then we've cut back to 1986. Jenny, having overheard Alice say the magic words, does the magic words and ends up face to face with the dollhouse. Though this time it's the Black Room. It's just the Black Room. It says, "Dreadful sorry, little one. I'm only interested in fruit from the one family tree, but nobody who knocks on my door is ever sent away." And seemingly it eats Jenny, leaving just her shoe. And that's where that's where the story ends. However, we've still got Sea Dogs, Chapter 4. So, the commanding officers of the HMS Havoc have gone out to conscript a new crew. By placing shillings in the drink. The captain explains that some fools in the town help themselves to his employer's money. Needless to say, he didn't get rich by giving his coin away. And so he's asked, who's your employer? Oh, but there's a shilling in my mug. And everyone's, mine too, mine too. And finally he says, my boss? His name's George. That's his majesty to you lot. And so, yeah, a bar fight begins. And that is where the issue ends. That's me for this first video. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.